Spiritual Radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Here we go now. Come to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Come to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
Welcome, everyone, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. So glad you're with us this Monday evening, March 11, 2019. And, of course, this recording will be posted in infamy forever and ever. Many worlds, many people, many races will be listening to this broadcast eons and eons from now, marveling at the wisdom of Dr. Carolyn Dean. But I get ahead of myself. This is Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I'll be with you for 2 hours along with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean. And we're just so happy you're here with us out on the leading edge of creation. And I must say, as I kick back in my chair and reflect on the amazingness of where we are poised in human history, that there has just been such a grand swell and a demand for relief from the sickness that is in this country, America, and really all around the world. And a country of such great abundance, and unfortunately our abundance is also of medical solutions and drugs and devices. And Dr. Dean stands poised with her, what should we say, her very own, like I think of Moses, with her rod and her staff, parting the waves of drugs and devices so people can actually get to natural health. And this is what we're talking about, the latent intelligence that is in your body, the force field of love in which you are contained, the vibratory field working together with our nutrients, with these incredible minerals and the other formulas that Dr. Dean has herself concocted and subscribes to in order to get everybody into their optimum being and wellness. And I was thinking about it the other day because it was International Women's Day, and there were so many people on the Internet getting accolades for being the International Women's this and International Women's that. And I thought of Carolyn because I thought, here's this extraordinary woman with this incredible vision for public health around the world, and she's got it. She's got it in spades. And I think that history will record her as a type of a, like a Jonas Salk who came up with what he came up with, and old Mr. Pasteur came up with his thing. But Carolyn has come up with the solution for public health and natural well-being in this country. You mark my words, and it's going to be revealed in the fullness of time. What we're happy about today, right now, getting back to the time we're in today, March 11th, is that we're glad you're here because that means you've been tuned in, you've got the formulas, you know what you're doing, and you are enjoying that great health and the tremendous option and opportunity that we provide every single week to talk with her and to fine-tune what you're doing so that you can continue to enjoy your own health and the health of your family. Before I bring her on, I just want to remind you that she is also a doctor and an MD, ND, an herbalist and everything. She's an author, of course, of so many books. It's almost embarrassing, really. I mean, when you think about all the books she writes, it's kind of like I don't even want to talk about. It's just a shameful thing. But anyway, let me just also say she's not going to give any medical advice tonight, ladies and gentlemen. She does not do that. But she will tell you what she would do if it were her in your shoes. And we know that's how she would, and she would actually do what she's going to tell you she would do because she's done it, and that's how she got where she is today. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Thank you, Ginny. Once again, wonderful introduction. It embarrasses me just to hear your introduction, not just
Did
that
you
I write
see
all
the
these
picture
books.
I posted of you? Did you see the picture I posted of you on Facebook?
No. Oh.
Well, International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And did you see that pretty picture?
Someone forwarded it to me, and I didn't know who or what. I don't have access to those Facebook pages. Yeah, that was a great picture. I even liked it myself. Thank you.
Yes, it's very pretty, and you're standing in front of a beautiful woman who's it's a sculpture of a woman, so it's you at the foot of a woman that's a sculpture. It's very pretty. And where is that? Somewhere in Hawaii, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the Grand Wailea Hotel.
Yeah. It was very pretty. So if you haven't checked it out, go to Facebook, and you want to know Dr. Dean and her beautiful essence, you can see her picture on Facebook right now.
Which Facebook?
The RNA Reset and the Magnesium Miracle page.
Okay, thanks.
That was Bob, who doesn't know.
That was Bob Carolyn's most loving and devoted husband.
Yeah. Oh, God.
What don't I know, Carolyn?
You don't know my Facebook pages.
No. You don't have any. They banned you. Went to and the first week of being on Facebook 10 years ago, they stopped hers because she get to 5,000 and went to the limit. So she never got to do it after they, they canceled your limit.
Yeah, for personal. So then I transferred them over to the Magnesium Miracle, but somehow I don't have access anymore. So I know.
They've banned. Carolyn was the original alt-right banned person, Ginny.
I was not.
She was the first Trumper before anybody ever heard of Trumper.
I'm still hiding out.
They banned Carolyn quickly.
Okay, so Ginny's blog today, oh gosh. What's the title of it, Ginny? I didn't transfer that over. What's the title of your blog
today? It's about
today?
youthing. Youthing. You know how instead of saying aging now, everybody's saying youthing.
Youthing. and other people think you've got a lisp. But, yes, we don't believe in aging. And here's the overall statement that I want you to memorize. When your doctor says, oh, you're just getting old, replace that notion with the truth that you are just getting more magnesium deficient. That's the bottom line of aging. Seriously, magnesium deficiency. And I know perhaps some people get frustrated that I say everything's about magnesium deficiency, but it is, and I will prove it. Because I will say these next words from Ginny's blog that she's taken from the Magnesium Miracle book, and I think some blogs I wrote about aging. So, in 1993, Dr. Jean Durlac, a preeminent magnesium expert in France, summed up the existing research on magnesium and aging. I marvel at his words every time I read them. What follows is excerpted from Magnesium Miracle book. Magnesium deficiency symptoms in the elderly include central nervous system symptoms that seem largely, quote, neurotic. They are anxiety, excessive emotionality, fatigue, headaches, insomnia, lightheadedness, dizziness, nervous fits, sensation of a lump in the throat, and impaired breathing. Also, peripheral nervous system signs are common, pins and needles of the extremities, cramps, and muscle pains. Then there's functional disorders, which includes chest pain, shortness of breath, chest pressure, palpitations, extra heartbeats, abnormal heart rhythm, and Raynaud's syndrome. Also, there's autonomic nervous system disturbances involving both the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, causing hypotension on rising quickly or borderline hypertension. In elderly patients, excessive emotionality, tremor, weakness, sleep disorders, amnesia, and cognitive disturbances are particularly important aspects of magnesium deficiency. So these are all words from Jean Durlac, and I don't know if you remember reading about him in the book or various times I've talked about. Jean Durlac was the doctor who said never, ever, ever take more than twice the calcium in ratio to magnesium. And that got mistranslated from French into that we needed twice the calcium to magnesium. And in fact, it's more like we really should be 1-to-1 in our magnesium-calcium ratio. And that's what I say all the time. get your 600 milligrams of calcium, which is all you really require as your RDA. Get your 600 from food as much as possible. If you can't, then use Recalcia so that it's properly absorbed, rather than most of the calciums out there that are so poorly absorbed that they precipitate in your soft tissue, in your blood vessels, in your heart. They precipitate all over the body: breast calcifications, heel spurs, kidney stones, gallbladder stones. So the calcium precipitates out when you take calcium supplements. And that's what will precipitate, or what would the word, enhance aging, speed up aging, having this calcification. So the blog continues. Just think how all these so-called aging symptoms are treated with truckloads of prescription medications. However, it's even more disturbing when you realize how medicine perceives aging. I'm saying you can successfully eliminate these signs of aging with magnesium at the same time that a new study finds that, quote, cognitive decline in women starts at midlife. This is reported on Medscape. Allopathic researchers have decided that, quote, for women, mental sharpness, particularly processing speed, begins to decline as early as age 50, end quote. So this absolves doctors of all responsibility for helping a person improve their cognitive function by saying, quote, don't be surprised when your 50-year-old female patient, this is what they said in the Medscape article, don't be surprised when your 50-year-old female patients come in saying that they're forgetting where they left their keys. This is cognitive aging, and it's very common, very usual, and it's just like aging of other organ systems. How many times have you heard your doctor toss off your symptoms with the refrain, you're not getting any younger, you know? And I repeat, you're not getting older, you're just getting more magnesium deficient. No, I have a note here then in the blog. Just as you should not believe that your brain and cognition are on a death spiral at age 50, neither are any of your other organs. In my Magnesium Miracle book, I report on a 2004 study that elevated magnesium to the position of memory enhancer. I quote a study in the book, and which says, particular brain receptors important for learning and memory depend on magnesium regulation of the cerebrospinal fluid in order to keep these learning and memory receptors active, end quote. Another quote, magnesium is instrumental in opening brain receptors to important information while at the same time allowing them to ignore background noise. Researchers were quite struck by their findings and concluded, as predicted by our theory, increasing the concentration of magnesium and reducing the background level of noise led to the largest increases of plasticity ever reported in scientific literature. Plasticity of the brain is the ability of the brain to bob and weave, shift, produce neurotransmitters, get rid of toxins. And then that translates into memory and cognition. Even more exciting is a 2011 study on fear conditioning, finding that magnesium reduces the physical reaction to fear. One major mechanism by which magnesium deficiency causes symptoms of aging is through calcification. I quote another French magnesium researcher, Dr. Pierre Delbet. He practiced in the early 1990s. He was convinced that the aging body's tissues have 3 times more calcium than magnesium. He knew that calcium precipitates out into tissues that are deficient in magnesium. He observed the toxicity of excess calcium in the testicles, brain, and other tissues and concluded almost a century ago that magnesium deficiency plays a role in senility. And then the last paragraph, I quote Dr. Guy Abraham, who said, quote, in order to protect the fluid inside the cells from becoming saturated with calcium, there is a magnesium-dependent mechanism that shunts calcium in and out of the mitochondria. But if calcium goes in and doesn't come out because there isn't enough magnesium to maintain that shunt, mitochondrial calcification occurs and eventually results in cell death. This research makes me wonder if calcium excess and magnesium deficiency could be the underlying reason for the recent upsurge in mitochondrial dysfunction. So that's the end of the blog. Very good blog. You can find it at drcarolyndeanlive.com on the opening page. Send that around to people who you're concerned or who are expressing concerns about aging. And this whole mitochondrial business, you've probably heard, read about mitochondrial dysfunction and all the different supplements that are being recommended. Doctors don't know what to do about it. But if you think about what Abraham just said here, there's a magnesium-dependent shunt that keeps calcium out of the mitochondrial so that the magnesium can work. And what is the magnesium doing in the mitochondria? It's functioning throughout the Krebs cycle. What have I said a million times? 6 of the 8 steps of the Krebs cycle that only occurs in the mitochondria, the Krebs cycle making ATP energy, 6 of the 8 steps require magnesium. That's where magnesium shows up, is in our tissue cells. And that's why ionized magnesium testing is so vital. We're pushing every day to get ionized magnesium testing more recognized as a definitive test for your magnesium cellular levels, your ionized magnesium. And what is REMAG? It's a stabilized ion of magnesium, so it works at the cellular level. What are we forced to use instead? Serum magnesium, nothing to do with the cells. It's just what's floating around the bloodstream, where only 1% of the body's total magnesium is present, and it will always look normal. It has to always be normal because it's that blood, that magnesium in the blood that supplies the heart with magnesium. That's how the magnesium gets to your heart. And if the heart doesn't have enough magnesium, it'll start to palpitate and eventually go into atrial fibrillation, perhaps cause angina and heart attack. So in case the serum magnesium goes too low, there are feedback mechanisms that will pull magnesium out of your bones and out of your muscles and put it in the bloodstream, and then it gets to the heart. That's the protection. But because you always need to have that specific amount of magnesium in the bloodstream, it's always going to look, quote, normal. The RBC blood test, not so good. We do it because it's a bit better than the serum test. However, when you look at the red blood cells, they do not have mitochondria. So there's no big reason for the red blood cells to have magnesium because it's not necessary for mitochondria. So it's kind of a bizarre cell to test for magnesium. So I'm going to stop for a minute before I go on to the questions arising from Ginny's blog that came into us. Ginny, what have I left out?
Well, I just think it's interesting talking about the mitochondria now, how many little mitochondria products are out there. And, they're all trying to capitalize on mitochondria, this, that, and the other thing. But they still, as you've mentioned, don't really have anything to do with magnesium. So if, you would be better served to be taking REMAG than you would to be jumping on the bandwagon with some of these flash in the pan kind of mitochondria products. Yes, Carolyn?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really quite a distraction. And then people will spend a lot of money on these esoteric products. I often say you're buying the words, you're buying the advertising of these products, because they can't really perform if they don't have proper amounts of magnesium. And that's our whole thesis, is people can't get enough magnesium because of the laxative effect of most of the products on the market. And that's why I went in search of a non-laxative magnesium. For years, I could not get a magnesium company to be bothered to research a non-laxative magnesium. I did it for my personal problem where I couldn't take enough magnesium to get rid of my heart palpitations without having the laxative effect. I confess it was all very selfish that I did this, but at least I did it. And you would think, common sense would tell you that someone would have done this a long time ago. For all the things that magnesium does for the body, we know the body needs a lot of magnesium. Some people take it and they do extremely well. Some people take it and they get the laxative effect and they don't do well at all. So to me the answer was, well, find a non-laxative magnesium. And thank goodness that's what we have. And, we're running with it. We're educating people and letting them know day by day the importance of the REMAG, and taking it in such a way that you don't take it all at once. If you take it all at once, you will overwhelm your cells and it will flush out. So anyway, let's move on because I feel a rant coming on. The questions that came in, let's see how quick I can be here. A gentleman says, I've been taking REMAG for 3 or 4 months. It's helping with my AFib and blood pressure. I do not have an intestinal colon, large intestinal colon. However, my small intestines are attached to my rectum, so I do have some problems with diarrhea. Could I be losing magnesium because of this condition? Now, it is possible, so what we just pull right back and say, make sure you're sipping it through the day so that every sip you take has a chance to go into your cells and not overload your cells with too much at once, which then can end up being eliminated either in the urine or in the stool. So it's the sipping throughout the day, taking maybe some psyllium seed powder along with your REMAG so that you slow things down. But I don't know how that works without having a large intestine. So the main thing is to sip it, and yes, you will be losing magnesium if you're not sipping it, and you can be losing some magnesium if you're having the laxative effect. Now, I know we have many patients who've had stomach surgeries and various lap bands and bypasses, and they are doing very well on the REMAG and not having the laxative effect. Next question. I've been on your product for REMAG for 2 years. Just the past week I started with a bad case of yeast in my mouth with tingling, tongue sores, joint pain, swelling, tingling throughout my body, very painful. I have a rash on my face from my nose around my mouth. I don't eat much sugar. I had to resort to taking diflucan, but not sure if it helped much. I'm also doing Himalayan salt rinses and taking your silver. So whatever I eat or whatever I eat hurts. Sorry, just a repeat there. So if you could please let me know what you would do, I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, this type of tingling and tongue sores, it sounds more like a viral. There are something virally going on, that's not how yeast presents. If the diflucan didn't work, it sounds like it wasn't yeast. So personally what I would do is I'd be using more than just the REMAG, actually. When people say they're just on REMAG, I really caution them that it's not just about magnesium kind of being a drug that treats symptoms. So I'd be looking at the Remite and the Realign, especially for detoxing. I would look at the whole yeast detox protocol and also be using a fair amount of the Pico Silver in case it was a virus. For the follow-through with this should be with customer service, because that's a very interesting question. Another question, diagnosed with Lyme 12 years ago. I tried what seems like every supplement and diet or protocol, cleanses, detoxes, you name it. I'm now starting your Remite and Remag and the lotion. I would say with the history of Lyme, history of antibiotics, you have to do yeast detox and look at the whole protocol, the whole RNA reset bundle, we call it. Remag, Remite, Realign, Restructure, and RNA drops. She said so far she's loving it. What can I do for the ability to not handle much stress? The magnesium does help. I'm sure it takes time. So yes, if she's just starting out, then it will take time. And she says, I've had high calcium on hair tests. So yes, it's a matter of building up your magnesium stores and looking at the other products for complete synergistic treatment. Someone says, I'm on therapeutic levels of Remag, 3 teaspoons, and that is a good therapeutic level. We get people all the time that says, I've been on Remag 1 teaspoon for a year and I still have symptoms. Well, the teaspoon of Remag is 300 milligrams. The RDA of magnesium is 300 to 400, and I think the necessary amount of Remag a day is probably 600 milligrams. We have to put the 1 teaspoon on the Remag label because of FDA requirements. And she's asking, is 1 teaspoon Recalci enough to balance out the needs for both? Well, it depends on the diet. Look for 600 milligrams in your diet and or with the Recalcia, but also look at your Remite intake as well and the Realign. Because she said she had a hysterectomy at an early age and may have damaged her hormones. So the Remite you need to support the adrenals and the thyroid. What I've been learning from Dr. Dean and with her supplements, I feel have already helped me reduce inflammation and relieve some symptoms of fibromyalgia, which was first diagnosed as rheumatoid. Hallelujah. Very unsure if I'm doing things correctly, and I need some TLC to learn better health. Well, that's with all our information, Erin. I've got 11 or 12 free ebooks at drcarolyndeanlive.com. There's the archives to listen to. You're going to listen in tonight. You can call customer service or email them anytime, support at rnareset.com, and ask questions. So listening to the radio archives are probably one of the best ways to get close to the information that we're giving out here. Next question, Dr. Dean, can you please discuss magnesium L-threonate supplementation for memory and the claims of it crossing the blood-brain barrier? Now, this is interesting because I'm in the throes of writing a blog that I'm entitling The Leaky Brain. So I'm going to I'll just read out some of this. I've been thinking a lot about the blood-brain barrier since the 2009 rat study called Enhancement of Learning and Memory by Elevating Brain Magnesium. Everyone heard about this study because the news that a patented magnesium L-threonate was able to get into the brain and cerebral spinal fluid of rats was promoted relentlessly. The study author implied that only their magnesium was able to penetrate the impenetrable blood-brain barrier. I immediately knew this was an incredible exaggeration because even magnesium oxide with a 4% absorption into the blood can have positive effects on the brain. I just read the L-threonate study again to confirm that there was only a 7% increase in magnesium in the cerebral spinal fluid compared to magnesium citrate. with that tiny difference. The study authors declared their product to be the Holy Grail that conquered the blood-brain barrier. So what I go on to quote is a couple of chapters of a book that you can download. The book is called Magnesium in the Central Nervous System. So you just type that in, Magnesium in the Central Nervous System. University of Adelaide put it out as a free PDF. And they have the first two or three chapters. One is called Magnesium Transport Across the Blood-Brain Barrier. So magnesium has a special way of getting into the brain, and if we don't have enough magnesium to get into the brain, that's your fault because you're not taking enough magnesium. Your brain is helping you get that magnesium in there. And as I said, this whole magnesium threonate study was really an advertising ploy to make everybody think that they were the only magnesium in town. And a lot of people got sucked into that SCAM, but not us. There's another, I think the first chapter of Magnesium in the Central Nervous System is called Free Magnesium Concentration in the Human Brain. So it's in there, and it's low in people who have brain diseases, brain disorders. And I guess the implication is that if it's high enough, then these brain disorders will not be there. Here's one statement. When they assess with magnetic resonance spectroscopy of brain magnesium, it helps them diagnose Parkinson's disease and multiple system atrophy. So it's a diagnostic tool for neurodegenerative diseases. And as I say, if your magnesium is high enough in the brain, maybe you're not going to get those conditions. And as I've said in the Magnesium Miracle, there's a lot of reports now about Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, senility, where people who are taking their magnesium are losing those symptoms because their symptoms are magnesium deficiency in the first place. Someone says, I don't think I can work up fast enough to the saturation point of magnesium in my cells from your Remag without taking my original supplements of magnesium. Well, we never tell people to stop what they're taking. Keep taking what you've been taking, add Remag, and increase your Remag, and when you get a bit of laxative effect from what would be your original magnesium, you start cutting that back. So that's what you have to do. And I think that answers that question. Next question, I've been a regular user of Remag, so please be a regular user of Remag, Realign, and hopefully the Restructure and RNA drops as well. I've been on a cyclical ketogenic diet, including intermittent fasting, 5 days a week. So he is fasting for 16 to 18 hours, 5 days a week. I don't think that's a great idea unless you're really trying to lose weight. Because if you're fasting 16 to 18 hours every day and not eating anything, not eating any carbs or fats or protein, you're depending entirely on your fat stores to do everything. So again, if you're not doing it specifically to lose weight, it might be not giving your body enough time to process your protein, for example, or the fats in a diet. And I'm not an expert on the ketogenic diet, but it just seems extreme to do, as he says, 5 days a week of that long a fast. Over the last several months, my sleep has gotten worse. Either I can't get to sleep or I wake up 2 or 3 times a night. So, yeah, something's going on. Maybe you don't have enough protein in your system to create the neurotransmitters that are required for your brain to do its good stuff. In addition, I'm having very mild but nagging headaches around temples and eyes, so perhaps not enough magnesium. Don't know how much he's using. And he says he's going through a lot of stresses, losses, disappointments, fear, and anxiety. So in those situations, you do require more magnesium. And he says, do you have any idea what may be going on with me and what I would recommend? So I've already said, I think it's too strict to do that much intermittent fasting. He's saying I'm thinking my hypothalamic pituitary axis is out of balance, adrenal axis is out of balance. Yeah, it could be, because you need regular intake of protein and fats to make your hormones and to make your neurotransmitters. Your hormones come from cholesterol, which comes from fat. So rethink your diet. I don't know if you can get a consultation with a ketogenic doctor, but it just makes common sense to me that if what you're doing is causing you to have symptoms, then stop doing it or readjust. Let me stop for a minute and tell Bob to stop making noise. 1 second. Okay, so then, yes, and here he says, I currently take at least a teaspoon of Remag, not enough, and 2 teaspoons of pink salt, probably too much salt, and other electrolytes each day, including cream of tartar, potassium. So probably throwing things off too much, not enough magnesium, too much potassium, too much sodium. So, I mean, if you're following our guidelines, I mean, that gives you the basics of what to do. Nagging
Can
headaches.
Can I just say, though, that it doesn't sound like he's following it. Now, I have no way of knowing this for sure, but every time I hear cream of tartar, you know who I think of. And with all this intermittent fasting on all these forums now, everybody's all giddy about doing this. And so it's kind of like people get on the Googler and they pick one from column A and 2 from column B and 1 from column C. And that's not exactly what we're recommending here. We're really recommending that Dr. Dean is a doctor. These other people aren't doctors. And they're, pulling all this stuff in from all these influences. And I'm saying Carolyn's a doctor who's been at this for 50 years. This is not a fad or something that, they're just jumping on some kind of a craze. This is something that she's developed, based on the constituents of the body at a cellular level. So, that's what makes me concerned about that kind of, situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the way Ginny and I are running things through customer service, we have every email, every correspondence with every customer. We have tens and tens of thousands, and we know what works. And in the beginning, I was still finding things out, but it was just kind of minimal because Cindy says I had developed back then over 40 years of figuring these things out and just going low and slow. And if you look at something like cream of tartar, 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar has 495 milligrams of potassium. And all the supplements on the market now have an FDA requirement to have no more than 99 milligrams per dose. And the reason for that is when people take too much potassium, they throw their other electrolytes out of balance, and they can cause themselves heart palpitations. And then where are you? So, yeah, we've got people out there who are throwing cream of tartar at everybody, And, yeah, you may feel...
And they're going to come up with something else, because what we're not telling people is they have a chip body stomach, and they will feed that every day. And you and Ginny aren't going to stop that unless you start telling them they got a chip body stomach, so they become aware of it and develop a little discipline in relation to it. Otherwise, they're just going to keep going for the next thing.
Yeah, you mean like the Googler?
The chip body. The Googling, you need it. Everybody goes on and does it because it's part of your weather. It's part of your experiencing your senses. We have new digital senses, and you cannot stop people consuming information and haphazardly applying it. Until you start putting that in your books, the chip body miracle, they are always going to never know what you're talking about.
Right.
We're up against an inhuman force that's actually becoming more and more human for people.
Well, we do tell people to stop Googling.
No, describe that their anatomy, and they don't teach us in med school, includes the chip body as well as the TV body. But they're mainly involved with the chip body. It has a stomach. It must be fed every day.
Right. Okay, Bob, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yes. So, yes, when people come along and talk about, grabbing something from this blog or that forum and this person and throwing it together, and we totally appreciate them coming here and asking us about it, because we're just going to simplify it and bring it back to the basics. So hopefully that answers answers his question. Next question. Back in December, I was diagnosed with spinal myelopathy in the neck region. I've been on your REMAG for over a year. I read online forums about this diagnosis and the amount of pain most folks are experiencing. I have very little pain. However, one evening I decided to not take my usual dose of REMAG in my evening 30 ounces of water, because I had an early morning appointment, et cetera. But a few hours later, as I watched TV, I experienced a terribly painful muscle spasm in my back. I had not felt anything like this in so long. It was quite apparent that the magnesium was keeping these spasms from happening, or the REMAG was keeping these spasms from happening. I quickly added the REMAG dose to my water and did not experience this again. I call it my magnesium-induced zone, my cozy cocoon of comfort. Thank you so much for your products. You've changed so many lives. So this woman, we do that, quote, experiment every once in a while. This woman proved that she needs her REMAG. I would even suggest she might need more on an ongoing basis. I know I'm fully saturated with my REMAG because I can skip a dose here and there and not have any symptoms of my leg cramps or heart palpitations. So you might take some more. And also, Denise, think about using the other products, the Remite, the Realign. As I said, it's not just about medicating yourself with magnesium, even though REMAG is the best. Another person, I've been taking 3 of your products for 1 month, REMAG, Remite, and the lotion. I have severe insomnia issues. I wake at 2 and 3 a.m., taking Tylenol PM, taking some Klonopin before bed, healthy eater, racing mind, traumatic childhood, good life except for sleep. Now, I don't know what she's asking, but a month is not long enough to build up a saturation level. So please be patient, Susan, and just stick with it. And you can, take the medications. I never tell people to stop their medications, but, hopefully they'll help a little bit. But what you'll find when you get saturated is that your body won't need medications, and it will calm the nervous system, calm your muscles so that you can get a deeper sleep. Been taking, this next one, been taking REMAG, Remite for a year, much better place. Still room for improvement. started celery juice in the morning on an empty stomach as recommended by the medical medium. So this is another case of people jumping into a fad treatment. And I've read the medical mediums books because people keep mentioning them. And there's a lot of very basic things in there. It's mostly vegetarian diet, a lot of juicing, which means not so much with this celery juice, but a lot of juices that are high in sugar. So I'm not really that supportive of this type of treatment. But what Janice says is she had an episode of diarrhea each day with it. So she'd drink this celery juice, and I think it's a fair bit that he recommends, and she'd get diarrhea. I was one time a day and then normal bowel movements. Took Remag 2 to 3 teaspoons a day, and her RBC magnesium test dropped from 5.8 to 4.9. Celery juice was the only thing different I've done. I know you can lose magnesium with diarrhea, but I thought this drop was excessive. Any ideas? So it's hard to say if you've got a really big dump in the morning of a bowel movement. I mean, supposedly you could be losing magnesium. It's very difficult to say, but it sounds like in this person either the irritation from whatever's in the celery juice. I don't know if the fiber is included. I know some people with IBS, fiber in juices that you just blend can be irritating. I don't know what to say. I guess I would cut back on the celery juice and make sure I took more Remag. But then, of course, I have to say the RBC magnesium test is not that accurate, except this person, Janice, did have a 5.8 and it dropped to 4.9. It's kind of a conundrum. But she also said, your Remag is fabulous. After taking it for a year, my cholesterol has dropped from 285 with a ratio of 4.4 to 202 with a ratio of 2.8. So that's awesome. Many other improvements as well, especially due to taking myself off all medications. Still have an occasional heart palpitation, but I think it's probably because my RBC magnesium is lower. One more. I experience heart palpitations starting about 4 hours after I drink alcohol or overeat a meal. I sometimes feel the palpitations in my back. Can you explain? Is this a heart problem or something else? Should I be overly concerned? Well, Victoria, you can look at my AFib book, a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com under books. And yes, alcohol is a trigger for heart palpitations. So is heavy meal, eating it late at night. A lot of triggers. I think I've listed 33. But the basis of them seems to be magnesium deficiency. So what a person would do is take Remag, saturate yourself with magnesium, and then test and see if the alcohol and or the overeating brings the palpitations back. With alcohol, it's important to use our Real line. It helps metabolize alcohol, the B vitamins in it, and the sulfur-based amino acids. So that's today's emails. Do you want to do chat before the top of the hour, Ginny?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, let's go to these questions, and we'll let everybody know that we will take phone calls next hour at 602-666-6027. That is the number to call if you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean this evening or have any questions that you'd like to speak with her about. Again, 602-666-6027, and then when you call, you've got to hit *5 on the keypad. *5 on your keypad will raise your hand in the studio and let me know that you have a question or comment. Otherwise, I just keep your phone on mute. We never do get to hear your question, so be sure to do that. Now, questions going back to the beginning of the show and kind of trying to keep track with what you were saying. So way early on in the show when you were talking about dosing, somebody said, if we take a teaspoon of Remag at a time and don't have diarrhea, are we still losing that magnesium? That didn't really make sense to me, but yeah,
no,
right.
You aren't.
Yeah,
you really aren't. I mean, your body is absorbing it within your tissues rather than you dumping it. So that's how I've evolved to taking mine, is a teaspoon in the morning and sometimes none at night, or a half teaspoon, or a teaspoon if I, with extra whatever. So we can get away. If you can get away with it, it's fine. But see, say you're just taking the 1 teaspoon a day and you have magnesium deficiency symptoms, well, of course you want to take more. That's all.
Okay, very good. We want to give a shout-out to our most dear and precious friend in the whole wide world, Margaret, in Canada. Hello, Margaret. She is recovering from her hip surgery. Hold on. And, of course, she's doing amazingly, beautifully, wonderfully, incredibly amazing. And her surgeon said, yeah, she's rocking it out. So that's very, very good.
Yeah. Excellent.
And Carolyn typed in this question. It's 2 parts, Carolyn. Yep. She says, I know you're not crazy about a lot of supplements and don't think HTMAs, which are hair tissue analysis kind of things, are always accurate. So would taking 5 milligrams of lithium orotate be beneficial to me if I show nearly 0 on the HTMA in order to help my SVT arrhythmia, or possibly harmful? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's a very specific question. I don't usually answer questions like that on the show because nobody knows what lithium is or whatever. But through customer service, we have talked with people about lithium. Low-dose lithium is very safe. It's something a person could experiment with. I've never used it. I know people in customer service have used it. That's all I'll say. It's not, low-dose lithium is not dangerous to use. But bringing that up on the show, I'm not that keen on, because now everybody's going to say, oh, should I take lithium? And it's like, no, if you're fine, you don't need lithium. And the hair test, I don't know how accurate it is about lithium. I mean, who knows that general answer? I don't. And I don't know if the hair analysis people do either.
Very good. Now, she's taking Remag and Remite for SVT arrhythmia, so I think Carolyn, not my Carolyn Dean, but Carolyn, the listener, hopefully you have downloaded the AFib book, which is a heart rhythm issue, heart rhythm issues. Just because it's not SVTs doesn't mean you won't benefit from the information. And also we have a Healthy, Happy Heart webinar that we just did, again, and updated the information in that, and that's on our YouTube channel. So be sure to check in with those. And then here's her follow-up question. I have started the Remag and Remite 6 weeks ago at a ratio of 2 to 1. I've isolated my variable causes causing issues to the Remite because of the cause of my phlegmy cough and short-term wheezing. Both of those side effects are happening within 30 minutes or less of taking Remite. I cough up mucus and get it out, then it all dissipates if I stop taking the Remite. Is this a detox reaction or yeast overgrowth?
Yeah, I don't want to go any further with this question, Ginny. It's too specific. I have no idea why Carolyn is reacting to the Remite. Maybe she's allergic to iodine. That's the only reason why people can react to Remite. It's not a detoxifier like Remag can be, so we'll have to take this question more through customer service.
Okay, so Carolyn, support, SUPPORT at RNAreset.com, and when you type in your questions, either Megan or Melody Rose or someone will send you back some information, and then Carolyn will respond to you offline. So that's wonderful. Bob, Totally inundated Steve with the answer to the question, what's a chip body, with a 4-part answer that's taken up at least 12 or 15 feet of our chat line. So we're good there. Thank you, Bob, for doing that. And Kathy says, I'm taking 3 capsules of Realign a day due to foot peripheral neuropathy. Besides the Remag, Remite, and all complement formulas, is there anything else you recommend? I stopped alcohol and decreased sugar.
Well, peripheral neuropathy, we have people who do the Remag lotion on top of everything else and have very good results with that. So if you're not using that, that would be the next step.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so we're caught up with our chat line, I believe. If I've missed something in the midst of all this, we'll get it right at the top of the hour, and we'll be back at the top of the hour with your questions. Again, 602-666-6027. We do have callers on hold. I see your waving hands, and if you have a question, be sure to, like I said, hit *5 on your keypad. And then we'll put Carolyn on the line after the top of the hour. Oh, and Reiner's here typing away. So we'll get these questions answered, you guys, right after the break from the station identification. And Carolyn, sip of Remag water, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right, we'll be right back, guys.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
AchieveRadio.com. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here in AchieveRadio.com. So glad that you're with us. We had the wily little time change, and I think that's thrown people off, but we're here and happy to have you along with us as well. So again, 602-666-6027 is the phone number to call to talk to Dr. Dean today. And if you'd like to, just hit *5 on your keypad, and we'll raise your hand and put you on the line with Carolyn. And let's see. Reiner had it. Yes?
Ginny, I need to go back to this whole potassium business, because I don't think people understand the importance of the balancing of the minerals in the context of someone telling you to take a teaspoon or two. I don't know how much they're telling people to take the cream of tartar, but in an environment of taking the wrong kind of magnesium, not getting enough magnesium because they're not taking Remag, and taking high amounts of potassium, you can create an imbalance. And also taking too much sodium. I think they talk about putting salt and cream of tartar together, as well as orange juice. I backed away from that right from the beginning because orange juice has too much fructose sugars, too much salt in one hit, and too much potassium, and then not using enough magnesium. So things can get thrown off. I mean, maybe people feel better at first, but, there's a long-term commitment to this type of protocol that then we are constantly getting people dropping into customer service trying to undo what they've, as Bob said, picked up in their chip body, and they don't know who to turn to because there's no doctor involved. On these forums, you've got people with all kinds of opinions, and it's pretty hard to find someone who with a balanced approach, and that's what we try to do day in and day out, is just give you low dosing, slow dosing. Do your basics, do your hydration, get your minerals, do a bit of detox. Some of these protocols, they're showing up using like 24 different supplements.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
Yeah, and they're being supported by magnesium companies. They're supporting people who are doing these protocols, and it's just too much. And when you throw out 24 things for a person to do, and you haven't gotten either the research or the clinical to back it up, you don't have books, you don't have constant 24/7 customer service, you're going to create a lot of problems. We don't create problems because we just use a handful of supplements that we can control. We know exactly what's going on with our supplements. It's like our person with getting a reaction to Remite. Okay, if that's happening, you stop it. We've had people who've taken high-dose iodine in the past, and it makes it difficult for them to take Remite because it's got the RDA of iodine in it. And that's another confusion on the scene where people are taking high-dose iodine and throwing everything off. And then we get people, oh, well, I can't take your Remite, it's hurting me. Well, that's not the Remite's problem. But I even have thought, Ginny, should we do a Remite without iodine? But that, you have to have some iodine to support your thyroid. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think I have to look at homeopathic iodine for these folks to try to ease their body back into appreciating iodine. Of course, the other thing is the iodine in radioactive dyes. So that's an allopathic problem. There are also iodines in some medications. So if you feel you have an iodine problem, be sure not to do iodine x-rays or check medications that you're taking to make sure they don't have iodine. Very important. So, yeah, we've got way too much information out there that people are just sampling, and anybody can make a case for anything. I was on a debating team in junior high school, for Pete's sakes, and I could take both sides of the debate and win both sides, because you can make a case for anything, and that's what promoters of these expensive esoteric supplements or these protocols would do is they'll give you a whole list of half-truths that sound right, and you think, okay, I'll try that. But it's really got to feel right. It's got to have common sense. You have to stop listening to people who don't know what they're talking about or who have this latest cure for you. Because anyway.
No, there's more and more room for anybody to broadcast stuff because there's a starvation factor in the body stomach. People need to be fed. It's like if there were cavemen, they ate anything. People, they're not aware that your body, they're eating anything and they want more. They don't know the limitations yet.
And
that's what you have to address. No, you're defining a rational argument of why they shouldn't do it. But you got to tell them about their chip body stomach first.
Bob, people don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Well, they better start.
Okay, well, they can come to your show on Saturday, and you can educate them, or your show on Tuesday. Go to Achieve Radio and look for Bob Dobbs and check out his shows. That's enough from you today.
Thank you for the promo.
Yeah, that's all you wanted.
That's all I wanted.
Okay, back to you,
but
Jim.
one thing I would say is this thing about getting all this. One thing that I see on these forums is, one person gets on there. I see it all the time because I watch a couple forums because I want to see what's happening with, like, say, example, CBDs. One person gets on, what's the best CBD for things? And then 628 responses later, everybody's put in their 2 cents. They've talked about their theories, their philosophies, their everything. There's no moderator. There's no interceptor. There's nobody. There's not even a viable nutritionist. There's nobody who understands what's going on, the human body. And so to Bob's point, it's just a big mosh pit of information. And when people are not feeling well and they're desperate to feel better, they will try things. And then that's where they get into the situation where it's like, well, I did this and I did this and it was great for me. But what they don't understand is that, and also on forums, people are not fully revealing, nor should they be. We don't know what kind of medicines people are taking. We don't really know what the state of their health is. We don't know what their surgical record is and all the rest of this kind of stuff and, all these other factors. Because if 70% of all Americans are on prescription drugs or have some kind of a surgical device in their body, then that means that 70% of our customers are operating that same way. And we understand that principle, so we're interacting with people that way. But I'm telling you on the forums, that's not what people are thinking of at all. They're just laying out so much stuff. So we'll really just be cautious and careful. That's all we're trying to say.
Right. Yeah, when I get to the point of being asked to not intervene, but to give my opinion for someone, we send out something called a Tier 2 questionnaire. And I have to ask all those questions. I'm not going to tell someone my experience personally, which is I'm not talking, as we say at the outset, I don't try to tell people what they should do, but what I would do. And what the response that comes back is often so complex and complicated that a non-medical person would not know how to respond. And we're at that stage in, as Ginny says, 70% of people are on at least one drug. So that taking drugs, that interferes with everything that's going on in a person. Everything has to be taken into consideration. And on the forums, it's exactly true that people are desperate and they hear something is a cure. I mean, I've never had anything work for me as a cure except Remag and Remite. And maybe Realign, but so yeah, you have to go by your personal experience. And I guess what we're able to do for people is just give them a very basic protocol, a simple protocol that's easy to follow, and then answer their questions as questions come up along the way. And That's the way your doctor should be treating you. Not that we're your doctor, but your doctors have, they really have sold their souls to the drug companies, and they're just going to give you drugs. And you'll still go into a doctor thinking the doctor's on your side and is going to help you and, maybe tell you, oh, don't worry, it's okay, go home and rest. Or here, what I used to do, I give prescriptions for people to take time off work, or I'd write a note, prescription to their husband to do the dishes. I mean, I would just get right in there because stress is the most common cause of a lot of symptoms. So anyway, we're here for you. That's all we can say.
Amen. We're here for you. We're doing the best we can, and what we're telling you is to cut out the junk, too. Like, for example, this one, God bless Mary. Okay, we're going to say in advance, Mary, that we are very grateful that you asked this question, and we're going to honor you for reaching out and asking, because this is what we want people to do. We want people to ask these kind of questions. Is it okay to perform a monthly or every 2-week gallbladder cleanse by drinking 1 glass of water with magnesium hydroxide, and then an hour later you drink 8 ounces of olive oil plus 8 ounces of mango juice? What's the best way to keep a healthy gallbladder?
Well, yeah, we've talked about this over the years. I think I even have it in the Future Health Now encyclopedia to not do big olive oil flushes of the gallbladder, because most people do have some level of gallstones, and if you flush out a gallstone and it gets trapped or stuck in your common bile duct, then you have to have surgery. And I know most of the time that doesn't happen, but if it happened, 1 out of 100,000 times to someone that I recommended it for, I would feel responsible. So I'm not going to recommend it. So, no.
And why would you do a gallbladder flush, Carolyn? What is to get rid of gallstones, or just to prevent it from happening? Like you're anticipating something that hasn't even happened?
Yeah, kind of. People might do it if they feel they have gallstones. But if you've had an ultrasound and you've got gallstones in there, I wouldn't do it, because you can get something stuck in your common bile duct. But it's part of the detox mentality of alternative medicine, that you've got to cleanse your liver and gallbladder and your intestines and everything. But even the liver cleanses I'm not keen on, because the liver often holds on to viruses. You think of the hepatitis virus, it goes for the liver. It holds on to viruses, and if you start pushing your liver, you can dump viruses and feel sick because you've brought the viruses to the surface. So that's why we don't go into big detox. I mean, the most I'll recommend is Epsom salts and clay baths and coffee enemas. And, of course, in our yeast detox, we're talking about bentonite and psyllium, and also diatomaceous earth powder that is effective for parasites. So, I mean, we're being more gentle. Our Realign is our gentle detox. Keeping your gallbladder healthy, it's keeping your whole body healthy. It's keeping your cells healthy, giving your cells the building blocks, the cells in the gallbladder, the cells in your muscles. Everything requires the nutrients that we recommend. So I don't focus specifically on the gallbladder. I know in Future Health Now encyclopedia, that's where you'd go, Mary, and look at what I've put for the gallbladder in the Future Health Now encyclopedia. So,
okay, excellent.
Purges.
So,
yeah.
Okay, very good. So, Mary, you've got some good information. The Future Health Now encyclopedia is at drcarolyndeanlive.com, Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Right across the top in the header, you'll see the tab that says Books, and you just scroll down until you find the Future Health Now encyclopedia, and you'll see all Dr. Dean's protocols for these kinds of things. So that'll be super helpful for you. And then also, aren't gallstones mostly or partially calcification again? So if you're on the regular Remag flow, I mean, you're not going to use Remag to treat gallstones. I'm not suggesting that. But one of the preventatives to any kind of calcification is just to have the appropriate ratio of magnesium in your system at all times.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking up the types of gallstones and what they're made of. So what they're saying, cholesterol gallstones composed mostly of undissolved cholesterol. So that's a Remag thing because magnesium does balance the cholesterol in the body. And where's the next one? Good grief, it just leapt out of my hands. And, yeah, there will be minerals involved, too. But I know in the book I talk about lecithin, choline and lecithin. But in the intervening years, I haven't had to get specific because when people are taking when they're hydrating, I mean, gallstones can be not specifically dehydration, but that's what will thicken the blood and thicken things up. So let's look up gallstones again. Hard crystalline mass formed abnormally in the gallbladder or bile ducts from bile pigments. So that's red blood cells breaking down. Cholesterol and calcium salts. So yeah, there's two aspects of cholesterol and calcium salts that magnesium can help balance out. And gallstones can cause severe pain and blockage of the bile ducts. So that's what I'm trying to prevent by asking people not to do 8 ounces of olive oil. Oil is what triggers the gallbladder to dump bile into the intestines, and then the bile pigments there from breakdown of dead red blood cells. I mean, look at the whole physiology and see how what you're already doing with the complement formulas is helping the gallstones. I don't know that it can get rid of gallstones that are stuck in the gallbladder. I know they're doing incredible laparotomy surgeries where they just do a incision and poke into the gallbladder, open up the gallbladder, pull out the stones, and sew up the gallbladder. And heaven forbid, I don't want anyone to have surgery, but to me it's safer to scoop out those stones than it would be to try to force them out through a purge.
Right. Very good. Okay. Renee says, my ND gave me a liver cleanse. Homeopathic brand is POS1. I'm in Canada. Any thoughts on that, especially based on the topic right now of doing cleanses?
What kind of cleanse was it, Jenny?
A liver cleanse, homeopathic liver cleanse called PAS, P-A-S-1, O-N-E, from Canada.
Oh, Payson. Uh-huh.
Oh, Payson. Sorry. Okay.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay. So here's Steve that I can answer this question really quick, and Carolyn will chime in too. I'm not sure if this question is appropriate. I'm wondering if Dr. Dean recognizes some peers in the alternative health community that she respects, like Jason Fung, Zach Bush, Dr. Mercola, Daniel Pompa, etc. I think it's reasonable to assume that it takes a village of clinicians, medical experts to address the health issues that people are dealing with. And the answer to that, Steve, is that last year, the first Monday of every month, we had the Doctor to Doctor series in which Dr. Dean did bring her favorite doctors onto the show. And so, yes, there is a village of doctors that she does trust and recommend, and people that she's in constant relationship with and sharing ideas with, and so on and so forth. So when she's talking about doctors in the allopathic way, she's talking about the disconnected ones that have not had the great and exceeding revelation. I mean, every single one of these doctors came on and talked about their revelation, didn't they, Carolyn?
Yes, yeah. I mean, they didn't know about Remag. I ended up educating most of them about Remag, and we decided not to continue the series because perhaps we started it to see what we were missing, to learn something, but like Bob says, we do have the answers, and we just should continue with that. If we keep on bringing on doctors just for the sake of bringing them on, it gets too distracting. They start going off into tangents, and everybody wants to have their own formulas and their own protocol, so we just left it alone. As Jenny says, and I've said, Steve, I've been at this for 50 years, so I think we've created the right environment.
Yeah, Carolyn, at
Right.
the end, Steve says, I think it's reasonable to assume that it takes a village of clinicians and medical experts to address the health issues people are dealing with today. You actually have some rational objections to that, and the village has become the chip body, but you actually think that what you've discovered erases a lot of the old alternative modalities.
Right.
Really, literally, you believe that, and you're going to get proof of that hopefully someday.
Right, and it does. The basis is in REMAG. It really, truly is. No doctor out there, mute Bob, you're echoing. No doctor out there knows how to use high enough amounts of magnesium to make a huge difference. And because they don't have REMAG to work with, then they're not going to get the saturation that's required to make the 700, 800 different enzymatic processes in the body work properly. They're going to keep seeing symptoms in people. And as this whole cream of tartar potassium and high-dose sea salt throwing things out of balance and not having the proper magnesium, then they start looking at, oh, well, I wonder what's wrong. And the magnesium didn't help. And as for back to the potassium business, blood testing for potassium is very accurate. So get your blood test for potassium, get your blood test for calcium. They are accurate. Magnesium blood testing is not accurate, and that's why doctors don't know about it and don't use it. So unless people come from that basis, they don't know really what they're talking about.
Well, and let's just say this, too. Let's just take, for example, Dr. Fung, Jason Fung, wonderful man. Carolyn's met him, visited with him in Toronto, lovely guy. And, you know, he had his great and exceeding revelation of the failure of allopathic medicine through his own nephrology clinic and his, you know, kidney practice and this and that. And then he started looking for answers in nutrition, and he found them. But at the same time, he even has rewritten his books to include a recommendation for magnesium, but has not included a strong enough recommendation for therapeutic doses of REMAG or therapeutic doses of magnesium to address the issues that he's trying to address with other things, including red wine and coffee. How can you address dehydration in the body with red wine and coffee? Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's really kind of contradictory what they're coming up with. Dr. Zach Bush is wonderful. He's got his Restore. We recommend that product. But again, digestive issues, lots of them are related to magnesium deficiency, not because you don't have enough humic fulvic. Dr. Zach Bush's supplement, Restore for Life, is a mineral supplement. It's humic fulvic. If you don't have enough magnesium, your body won't make hydrochloric acid, and you will not have proper digestion. So, yes, it's important to give the food, the microbiome, its proper due and give it some good food for all the little bugs that are in there. But you better give your gut some magnesium, or you're not going to be able to digest your food. Dr. Mercola, we won't even talk about. So, yes, so to Bob's point and also Carolyn's, you've got to see through a lot of different layers of stuff to really evaluate the effectiveness of that protocol, and if it's all-encompassing and if it's giving the body at what it needs at the mitochondria, because that's where stuff really happens. Because if your mitochondria aren't operating properly and you're not making ATP, you're not alive, period. Right?
Yes, yeah. And right now I'm in the midst of, well, among other things, writing the sugar book that I started 30 years ago or 40 years ago. How many years, Bob? A long time ago. 35 years ago. before the sugar lobby groups came and attacked me. And even with sugar, I've read about a dozen books now, and the science is trying to prove that sugar does all these bad things, which it does. But none of these books addresses yeast overgrowth. None of them has yeast or candida in the book. I searched the book right away for magnesium. None of them really at all talks about magnesium, because when you eat too much sugar, you overutilize your magnesium, and when you eat too much sugar, you grow yeast and you get all kinds of symptoms. And the symptoms of yeast overgrowth are being sort of bundled up, jumbled up into sugar side effects without realizing the underlying nature of the symptoms. And because they don't put those two things together, then other pro-sugar people will say that, well, it doesn't quite make sense. So it makes it too vague when you become a specialist about any of these either problems in our diet, like some people will say, well, it's all about salt. I mean, the recent ruling now with some I think it was the American Heart Association, is saying to reduce sodium even more. With all the information about the people needing sea salt and James Nicola Antonio's book about salt, what do the National Academy of Sciences and it's mostly National Academy of Sciences, they say we have to reduce salt even more than we were before. And it is absolutely not the cause of hypertension. We know that for a fact. So in the midst of knowing that it's the exact opposite of what we should do, they say reduce sodium. And it's so ridiculous. And this is what we're up against. The allopathic medicine being stupid, and then the alternative medicine, they're just trying to sell you every supplement that they can. Horrible.
Okay, let's take some questions off the chat line, and I think we also have some callers who've been patiently waiting. So we'll do our callers and then chat line questions and get everybody caught up. Let's see. So let's go to area code 248. 248, you're up in Michigan. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, Susan. Thank you very much. I've been diagnosed with diabetes, high blood pressure, and I am obese. And when I had an appointment today with the doctor, they said that I'm at stage 2 with kidneys issues, and it's so interesting because I was going to call you guys about your magnesium. I've got your book, The Miracle Magnesium. I've got the lotion. Now I want to buy the Remag. I also don't have a thyroid, and I was wondering, should I take the Remag? Not the Remag, but the Remite.
Oh, yes. I know, Susan, we talk about Remite being very important for the thyroid, but it's important for hundreds of other things as well, all the minerals in the Remite. So, yeah, that's important to do. And, yeah, the diabetes, high blood pressure, stage 2 kidney disease, all these things can be related to magnesium deficiency, too much sugar and carbs in the diet, and too much calcification. So you're on the right path. You just keep reading, keep figuring out how you got this way.
I've eaten horribly. My diet is absolutely, positively horrible. And also been diagnosed with the atrial fib. And the funny thing is I want to do exercises, but just walking is just maybe a foot. I'm out of breath and I'm tired, and I feel like I just feel terrible. So I have had it. I want to do the right thing, and I am really, really excited about your magnesium stuff. And I just feel like maybe I should just stick with just you and do that, eat healthy, and just see how everything comes out.
Right. Because when you read a lot of the free ebooks we have at drcarolyndeanlive.com, I'm just repeating myself over and over again, but hopefully in a fun way that's not too boring. But with such complexity of health problems, some people find it too simple when I say, well, the blood pressure, your blood vessels are tightening up. Partly they've got maybe too much calcium building up in them, and they're tightening up because without magnesium they'll go into a bit of spasm. So there's your blood pressure. And like you say, a bad diet, eventually people are going to get blood sugar imbalance. Their cells the cells put up the roadblocks. Do not give me any more sugar. Stop it. So then the sugar builds up in your blood, and then it causes side effects. And it's very, I shouldn't say easy to explain, but it's understandable. And they're just going all crazy on this staging of kidney disease, and that tends to be just calcification of the kidney arteries, so things slow down there. That's all. So we see people all the time reversing these things. And the diabetes, the sugar is out the door, Susan. You're done with it.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yes, it's so funny because for Lent I gave up. My problem was pop and sweet tea. And I gave that up, and I realized that I don't even need it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's what those religious fasting holidays were for, to show people just what the basics. And you must be from the South with your sweet tea.
Yes,
I mean, some of those sweet teas, oh my gosh, you could be putting about 10 teaspoons in a big glass of sweet tea.
Oh yes, from the South. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And at any one time, Susan, in the blood, there's only 2 teaspoons of sugar. That's all the body needs to keep it going. And when you drink something like a soda or a milkshake or whatever, some of these sports drinks, they can have 10, 20 teaspoons of sugar. Your body goes into just apocalypse. It just thinks you're killing it. It thinks you've got a gun to your head and you're going to just die. So it does all kinds of mechanisms to try to stop that sugar from getting in the cells and overloading them. You see, when too much sugar gets into the cell and it can't be metabolized, it turns into a different type of sugar, and that sugar crystallizes in the cell and kills the cell. So that's what's happening. We're killing our cells with this sugar. So that's enough of a visual for you to stay with the program, right?
Right. I just can't stand the idea of being like this and not being able to walk. That's the part that's so scary right there.
Right. And that'll come back just, while you're sitting, getting ready to be able to walk and exercise. Just listen to my radio show archives and read my books, and you'll see that it's pretty straightforward. And you can always call into customer service or email support@rnareset.com, and we're here for you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling in, Susan. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent. What a doll. That's so exciting. Another life that's going to be radically and dramatically changed, and we will follow her success and celebrate with her the whole way along, Susan, and call customer service anytime. Okay, here's some quick rapid-fire questions for you. Reiner says, hi, Carolyn, quick question. With an intense workload and stress related to the workload, is it wise to increase the supplements gradually until a sense of balance is found, or should I just double the dose?
Double the dose, seriously. When a person is already on all the formulas, as I know Reiner is, and if he's getting slammed, then you can just double up. If you feel a flu or something coming on, you're going to take your Pico Silver. I took 1 teaspoon every couple of hours for 6 teaspoons. I think I doubled up my Realign. Yeah, I doubled up my Realign, took some extra Remag. Yeah, double up.
Excellent, excellent. Renee typed in and said, what is the amount of lotion to Remag? Example, half a teaspoon contains how much Remag?
You can answer that, Ginny.
Each teaspoon of Remag is made with 200 milligrams, and a teaspoon is 3 pumps. And we have a demonstration video that we show you how to factor that out on our YouTube channel. 1, 2, 3 pumps and a teaspoon of Remag, 200 milligrams. Jen says, do you recommend taking prenatals if you're at the stage of life, or are your formulas enough?
The formulas are pretty much enough, Jen, but we always tell people to go to my blog, what's it called, Dr. Dean Supplement Recommendations. We like people to take a food-based vitamin C, which should be on our shelves soon, within 1-2 months. And we like people to take a probiotic, and we're going to have our own Flora Revive in 1 or 2 months. So those are the extras, and the Blue Ice Royal, which is on our site. It's the only product we don't make because it's just too much work to squish out those fermented cod liver oil livers. Yuck. I would not do it. I'm sorry. I'll do anything for you, but not that. So, Dr. Dean Supplement Recommendations, Jen, it's all there.
The thing
it's and Jen's question, sorry, Jenny, was about prenatal. Yeah, it's for every age, every instance, everything. People are always asking us, well, what should I take for this? What should I take for that? Take everything we tell you to take and take it up to the point where you feel better and then stop. Not stop taking them, but stop at that dosage.
The thing about prenatals that we get all the time, Carolyn, is you don't recommend a multivitamin, and what about the iron? So I'm just going to bust those out right now.
Right. Oh, good point. Yeah, with the iron, there is a liquid iron that we do recommend so that people don't take the dirt or rock iron. And Floridex, Floridex or EX, is a plant-based iron that I also recommend. So
Floridex, and you can get that at your health food store. You can get it from Amazon. I've taken it before. It's very lovely. Mm-hmm. So when I needed a little bit of iron pick-me-up type of thing a couple years ago. All right, excellent. Carolyn says, my daughter has fibromyalgia and severe depression. She's starting the RNA reset drops and Remite slowly drop by drop as she is hypersensitive. Should she add Realign at the same time to help improve her depression? Oh, I'm sorry, not Realign. She's taking Remag and Remite, and they want to know, should she add the RNA reset drops?
Right. We find that the RNA reset does help most people with the way they view life, but I'd be very careful just to stay with 2 drops a day. If you take a lot of RNA reset drops, it can, what can it do, Ginny? It can intensify where you're at. And if where she's at right now is being a bit depressed or a lot depressed, you don't want to intensify that. You just want to give 2 drops a day to very, very gently get the RNA making the DNA, make perfect cells and, perfect neurotransmitters and all the rest of it. So it is important, but don't dose it the way we talk about on the label, which is 10 to 15 drops twice a day.
Right. Very good. Okay. Let's see here. Renee says, I found it interesting when you were interviewing the doctors. Renee's listened to the show for quite some time. I found it interesting when you were interviewing the doctors over the last year, and they knew nothing about magnesium, but they were all exceptional experts nonetheless. It is quite a good demonstration of what you were saying. No one knows. Yeah, there you go. Dean says, can you mention more on Raynaud's symptoms? The cold really affects my fingers, especially here in Chicago. Thank you.
Right. Well, Raynaud's, you could go to my Future Health Now encyclopedia and look up Raynaud's for the full entry. It has something to do with spasming of the little tiny capillaries in the fingers. And I don't know if anybody knows what causes it precisely. Maybe Total Biology has an idea, but anything to do with spasms, you use the Remag, oral Remag, and Remag lotion locally as well. We've had a lot of feedback on how that helps people with Raynaud's. But check out the Future Health Now encyclopedia as well. Very good.
So then Renee says, what is the sign of yeast overgrowth?
Oh, gosh, there's 100 signs. Women can or may not get vaginitis. You can have a coated tongue. You can have itchy ears. You can have itchy skin rashes. You can have gas and bloating. Email customer service support at rnareset.com and ask for the yeast questionnaire. The questionnaire will list dozens and dozens of possible symptoms, so you know what may be affecting you.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Nancy types in, wow, what a great program today with what Carolyn and Ginny are providing for us, plus questions that add to all of it. I am reveling in it, the reminders, clarifications, interactions of the importance of it all. Never get tired of repeating the important points. Thank you all for this. That's very sweet. Thank you, Nancy. Very sweet.
Thank you.
Mary says, okay, take half the portion of your protein powder due to having wait a minute. Okay, so I think I'm trying to decipher this while I'm reading it. Okay, she's saying that the keto diet has, it calls for 7 ounces of protein, and she's trying to figure out how much protein powder she can take to get 7 ounces or less of protein.
Does your keto diet call for 7 ounces of protein, Ginny?
No, I don't think that's accurate, Mary.
No, that doesn't sound right. And when, what you do, I mean, I don't know exactly what your question is, but are you trying to find the grams? Are you trying to find what 7 ounces means? That's what you can Google. That's what the chip body is for.
There you go. Very good. Okay, Renee says, I love the caller, Susan. So encouraging to hear someone who's fed up and starting on the path to better health. Yeah, she's very, very sweet. Okay, and so Renee's asking, is the Blue Ice Royal instead of using fish oil supplements?
I think it is. I've said that for a while, and it's only recently that reports are coming out that the high-dose fish oil that's being used is really too much. I don't know what to think of the studies, because I know so many of the studies are not factual, but it always made sense to me that too much fish oil, it's super refined. It's really not food anymore. And I remember when I have taken it, it just makes me burp horribly, so I'm not digesting it. Whereas Blue Ice Royal is digestible because it's fermented. It's a fish oil that's been fermented, so my body doesn't have to really go out of its way to digest it. So yeah, I think Blue Ice Royal covers everything. And then in your diet, you're adding oils. People say flax oil is good. you have to keep it in the freezer because once you open that flax oil bottle, it's rancid within 3 weeks. A lot of people have been drinking rancid oils, and that's why the fish oils are so processed, because they can go rancid so easily. That's why the fermentation of the cod liver oil is so important, because it's like a natural rancidity that turns it into a better digested food. It's a fascinating topic, but just like every other fad supplement out there, they just use high doses of a very processed supplement and do these crazy studies and make everybody think that this is going to save your life, and then 5-10 years later it turns out to be a bust. So stay with food and Remag.
Very good. Yes. Very good. Excellent. Okay. And let's see, where are we here? Renee, frontal lobe dementia, will Remag help?
Don't know. I think it helps everything. It helps all your cells. We would never say that it's a treatment for anything specifically. We just say keep treating all your cells with the formulas. Right.
I mean, it can't, what was it, Groucho Marx? It can't hoit. I mean, again, it's not a situation where Remag is a drug. It is a absolute 100% imperative dietary supplement that is required at a cellular level for life. Right. So if you're alive, you want to have it. It's just that simple.
Food. It's food. It's eating food, because the food we eat does not have the minerals anymore. So when you look at protocols and they don't include magnesium, the protocol is wrong. Okay.
Right. Very good. Okay, and then let's see. My eye imagery says, sugar is a clever substance, hard to give up. We all need to moderate. Everybody except me. I do not need to moderate. I have ascended beyond sugar moderation, and I have taken enough Remag over the course of many years that I am fully in my power when it comes to sugar.
And you don't eat that much, Jenny. I've lived with you. She's just joking.
I'm being super silly. No, I don't eat that much sugar. I don't eat that much sugar. Black Sheep says, could taking RNA drops exacerbate autoimmune conditions, intensifying the immune system's attack against the body?
No. Never.
No, but that's a good one. No, that's not it. No. RNA, let's just talk about it for a minute. What does RNA mean? And it's funny now because the RNA drops have become so popular. I want to just say the way that the RNA drops are made is what they call microbatching. And they are made in a 23-day process, and it is all hand done. It's all done by hand. And the drops have become so popular now, each generation of drops only yields a certain amount of bottles. So it's not like something where you, quote unquote, ramp up and, double something or whatever. It is what it is, and that's all you're going to get out of that batch. And so we've been running out quite a bit. I think in the last year we've been out of drops 4 times. Wow. And people are starting to kind of catch on that it's like, oh, wow, this is really a thing. It's like, yes, this is really a thing. And now you're going to have to start planning, to make sure that you've got your drops. And, we're kind of retooling our bundle a little bit so people will be a little bit easier about getting on and being on the auto ship so that you can make sure you get them every month, because you're not going to want to be without them, especially as their popularity increases. And the demonstration of what they do, like what happened with the radish experiment, is going to become more to the forefront. And it's interesting because since the radish experiment came out, we get bombarded with questions all the time in customer service about, can I get some of that from my garden? Can I get some of that? So that's probably going to become a thing too at some point. But RNA means relax and allow. Relax and allow. And the primary, non-physical aspect of RNA drops is to reduce resistance. it relaxes the body, relaxes the mind, and allows that resistance to be muted so that people can have more freedom, more opportunity for expansion, for awareness, for ascension, whatever you want to call it. So there's the physical part that's very practical with the biological sugars and what it does in the cells, and there's the non-physical part that's also very practical for relaxing the body. So it will...
And it relaxes your response in the chip body. It does. It helps you deal with the chip body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain detachment that people achieve where things just don't bother them anymore. And the reason why I talked about Carolyn's daughter, and about only doing 2 drops. When someone is in the midst of depression, it implies that they have a lot of resistance. So we don't want to create extra resistance. We don't want to enhance where she's at, but we want to just nudge the person a little bit to have more freedom and awareness and ascension. So it's very specific the way we talk about the RNA reset drops.
Yeah, they're pretty exciting and they're incredibly valuable. And then, again, what we're finding is this whole thing about the barrier to decay, and they're, the asset of setting a standard for life at a cellular level, and that's what we've been saying for years. And now we have the beginning of our own studies, and we're doing more studies. More things are going in the ground. More things are happening. And Dr. Dean will at some point become the queen of research. I can tell you that much, because we are, we've been saying so many things anecdotally, and we've had our customers correspond with us so much that we're confident about those statements. But we're also starting to prove it scientifically. And as that gains momentum, there's going to be extraordinary things happening on the face of this earth. So y'all just stay strapped into your chairs and make sure you've got all your products.
Yeah, Carolyn's going to become the queen of the new science.
I believe that 100%. 100%.
Yeah, and all you have to do to think about the chip body, it's not complicated. You have to go and answer your email and texting just like you have to go to the bathroom. So it's an organ. It's insistent on you, and that's what you have to become aware of. So that's what we call it, part of your body.
Very good. That's for Renee, who she typed in, Bob, that's all too complicated, which it does sound complicated in the beginning, Renee, but it gets easier. Kathy asked, when will your vitamin C be available? Is it liposomal? Carolyn?
Not liposomal. It doesn't have to be. It's a food-based base, and we put RNA reset powder in with it to catalyze and allow absorption. So the liposomal, we don't need that.
What does that mean?
Attaching fat to it to help it be absorbed. We don't need that. Okay, back to you.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're all caught up in our chitty chat line, and I think we've got everybody taken care of on the phones, so I think we're good, and we have 3 minutes. What would you like to say, Carolyn?
Oh, gosh. What a fast show. Bob, are you muted?
No, I'd like to talk.
Oh, you've had way too much to say. Way too much to say.
You tell them what the chip body is, Carolyn, because
I don't know, Bob.
You do. The main point is that people will continue reading new nonsense every day because they have to engage their chip body. It's like going out and engaging the elements, the weather. This is a new part of your climate, and you can't stop people. So that will win out until the population realizes. You have the people who created the chip body out there in Silicon Valley. They do not let their kids go online. They know what they created has become a monster.
Okay, so then practically all you do is say to yourself, I've got to go to the bathroom now. But what you're really doing is I've got to check my cell phone. And you don't have to go to the bathroom every 2 minutes. People on their cell phones too much. Do not ping yourself. Do not let yourself know every time something comes in, because invariably you want to go and answer that just in case. So instead of it controlling you, you just put some controls on it, check your email a couple times a day, and leave it at that. So that's one little way to get some detachment. Same with the computer, same with Googling things. In terms of health, yes, you have us to answer your questions. You have my 11 free books, 1,000 blogs, hundreds of radio shows. That's where you can get your answers, in a balanced answer, rather than Googling somebody who's going to just give you their off-the-cuff for that day cure.
Because they can, and nobody's stopping them.
Nobody's stopping them. Nobody is policing the Internet.
And also contextually, let me just say the context for your conversation is very important, because contextually we believe that individuals are powerful enough to heal their own bodies and create their own realities. And in the victim world of the Internet, most people are just looking for a place to tell their story and get their payoff. And we don't do that here. So when you come here, you're going to not only have the opportunity to be heard and to be respected and responded to by a doctor and somebody who's an expert in her field, but she's also going to hold you to a much higher standard than anybody on a forum would ever.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Ever.
Great show, Jenny.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill.
Our show.
Thank you for contributing, Ginny.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Bob. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com. Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.